Hi, I'm Devin Stewart from the Carnegie Council. For more than 95 years, the Carnegie Council has been promoting ethics in international affairs. Please consider donating to our annual fund by going to carnegiecouncil.org and click on support. Thank you very much.
We call the Saudi Muslims, or the dominant strand of Saudi Muslims, Wahhabi. And Saudis have often taken me to task for this because they do not believe that they are a separate sect of Islam. They believe that they understand the fullness of Islam and they are simply Muslims. But you'll excuse me, sir, if for the rest of today we use this word because it helps us to understand it. The Saudis are called Wahhabis because the preacher, the teacher who propagated this particular, as I say, austere and puritanical view of Islam, as I'm sure you know, was someone called Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. Abdul Wahhab means slave or servant of the giver. Sorry, I'm sure there are many Arabists here who will say, and I'm just speaking the obvious. Whenever you see Abdul in an Arabic word, it means servant of or slave of, depending on how you interpret it. So the present king of Saudi Arabia, Abdullah, is the servant of God. His father, Abdulaziz, was the servant of the mighty, Aziz being one of the 99 names of God. Another of them is Wahhab, God the giver. And in the middle of the 18th century, and I just go back into this little bit of history briefly, because this is before the creation, I like to remind my American friends, of the United States. In the 1740s, the first alliance was formed between the Muhammad ibn Saud, he was called, of the day, before the Saudi leader of the day, then the ruler of a little oasis called Dariyah. That's now a suburb, or the beautiful suburb of Riyadh, which later became their proper capital. He formed this deal with the two of them, the preacher and the emir, that the emir, the sheikh, would go out and spread the word, by force if necessary, of Abdul Wahhab. At that time, in Christian terms, again, forgive me, sir, making these sort of comparisons, you might say Abdul Wahhab was like a Calvin. He was, the sort of character who came over here and helped create the United States of America, a puritanical, simple believer who, when eventually the Saudi troops conquered Mecca, it was as if the Calvinists had taken over Rome. Smashing the equivalent of stained glass windows, pulling down the idols which were diverting people from their true religious purpose. And so, finally, to conclude this little piece of history, that is the significance of the House of Saud. They've unified this religious and economic power and harnessed it to this particular version of Islam, espoused, of course, most violently by Osama bin Laden. Most Saudis would say, and I would have to agree with them, that the interpretation, the violent interpretation that Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda put on Islam or Wahhabism, whatever you want to call it, was not true to the writings or teachings of the teacher, nor to what most Saudis believe. And I've been living now in Saudi Arabia for the last 3 years. I've never found a Saudi who approved of Osama bin Laden and what he did in 9/11. No, sorry, who never approved of what Osama bin Laden did in 9/11. What he did before was another matter, and I'll be talking about that. Who does not feel very ashamed and embarrassed about what has happened. Saudis are no better at apologizing than the rest of us. As you will see from my book, and as I try and talk about what the present king, Abdullah, is doing, you will see that the modern policies of Saudi Arabia, the reforms of Saudi Arabia, the new sort of direction that this rather extraordinary man is taking the country, could add up, if we wanted it to an apology. It's certainly a new direction.